So the way I always handle things is that I bring the money in and then I pass the money to her. Becomes my partner, right? After that, it goes, the way I'm raised is that, no, I give her the money and then she handles the rest. We're in a joint account and she handles the rest. Like she'll set up the auto pay.
Right.
She'll set up the auto pay
Right.
and then like
Let us submit our application.
Yeah.
So
I don't have to say my calculation rounds up. So
right.
That's
Make
so
sure
like,
to submit your cover letter.
so
Make sure to submit your cover letter.
We'll send it to Marco and Jay first.
So with my last ex, because you guys met my last ex. So with my last ex, she handled my last ex. She handles all that. Like I get paid and then it goes into our bank account, and then she would handle like paying the credit cards and stuff like that, and she would figure out if we can go out to eat and stuff like that.
Finish saying what you have to say.
And then keeping like the credit card balances below half and stuff. Like she handles all that for us, and then I just have to go to work and come back home. And then sometimes like I still have access to the account. Then sometimes like I would like bring food home and stuff like that. She handled all that for me. So
that is dope. Like that's super dope.
All I ask from her in return is that she's supposed to be, and she knew that this was important for me because I was so used to like doing everything by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, I can do everything by myself, but she was my mental support. She supported me mentally, right? So I would go and deal with all the bullshit physically, and I would have a fucking pissed off day or whatever, right? But when I come home to her, and she supports me mentally, and she handles the rest. So the money and all that stuff, she figures all that stuff out for me. So that's the partnership that I had with her. Granted, I'm single now, but like, you know, but that's the way that I was raised. That's why I was kind of like, it's opposite. That's why I was saying it's like, it's kind of opposite for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's old school.
Yeah.
I would say it's cool.
That's definitely kind of
school.
almost like alpha male. That's kind of like alpha male, like status type thing. Like, I mean, I've had guys like give me their credit cards and everything like that. Like that's cool and all, but I've never had like, we're dating. Here's our joint bank account.
Never dated a guy
like, hey, boo.
Never dated a guy like me. Is what you're saying?
I've never dated a guy who's done that, Kay, like you.
So you never dated a guy that thought of it that way? You sure? It's very.
I mean, unless they were giving me their credit cards for thinking that way, but we haven't had like a joint account.
We were kind of taught up and like raised to be like that for Southern Asians, at least. Is that the female handles the money, and that's the way. That's the way I've kind of always been doing it. I don't know. It's normal to me. Yeah.
But if you're interested, you could always test out a K Skyline for a 30-day trial. See how it goes.
So Megan Fox, I'm still willing to donate
30-day trial
blood.
dating period.
Do you get your money back? Is there a full refund? Megan Fox, I'm still single. If you're out there,
you won't get charged.
Applications being accepted now.
Since you canceled before.
After this episode release, everyone will try to like send in their application.
Submit their man. Send them to K Skyline.
Click on this link below.
I was gonna say that. I was like, there's gonna be so many fucking pigeons at my house.
Right. Sending their messages.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. That's Southern, my culture. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I kind of understand the concept. So the concept of it, or like anyone who is Cambodian probably knows this too. And Vietnamese, they know this too.
Yeah, Vietnamese do that.
Yeah. So I'm raised by both culture. And it's the concept of like taking one stress of the male, passing it to the female. So the female handles that part of it. So the saying goes that like, it takes a man to buy a house and build a house, right? But it takes a female to build a home.
Oh yeah, I heard of that.
That's the expression our Southern Asian people believe. So that's why we pass the money to the female, so she builds the home with the money.
Yeah.
To turn it into a home. The man just builds the house.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. That's the way I look at it. And it is, in my opinion, I personally think that it works out a lot better that way, in my opinion. Because I noticed that it does take stress off of me, that I don't have to think there about like, even granted, auto pay kind of defeats the purpose nowadays, but like kind of someone always constantly monitoring the money, it builds a better habit instead of me just going out splurging it. So in my opinion, it has.
But I feel like that's super stressful as a female to like what about the what ifs? Like, what if she doesn't do a good job managing the money?
Exactly.
Like, what if you get that female? Like, you're giving all your money and then she's taking advantage of you, right? Like, she's spending it on herself, or she's having an affair or whatever and spending it on her other man, right?
And that's probably why I would turn down both of your resume. But like, I just kidding.
Shut up!
But like,
we are good alpha females, okay?
Yeah.
We are great.
As soon as she answers,
yeah, it's just
we just missed the whole thing.
I'm just joking, but like no, but yeah, but if you're dating them already, you kind of would like suss that out, feel that out, stuff like that. I don't know. To me,
that's true. You kind of know.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know somebody like soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make the best decisions. Obviously, we make mistakes when we choose. I bumped into that already. My friends know this. I made a mistake that haunted me that I took 5 years to repair my credit after that mistake. Right. So
I thought you were gonna say the wet spot again.
No, not the wet spot girl. But like I made that mistake of choosing the wrong person, and it cost me 5 years of just rebuilding credit. And then once I fixed that all, it's like, I wouldn't say it left a sour taste in my mouth, but it's like I still won't change the way I view of like that it should be that way financially. Yeah, I just have to feel them out better. That's all.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I look at it.
Feel them out.
You gotta feel them out. You know what they say? If you ever lose feelings for me, just gotta feel me some more. What's something as an adult that was hard for you to accept?
Well, that's easy.
Oh, that was easy for you? Holy shit. It hit me hard.
For me, it was finding out that Don Francisco is German.
Oh my God.
Oh, man. That's it. That's all. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Michael, what hit you hard? What was hard for you to accept as an adult?
Time is irrelevant, and you can no longer go back and enjoy the good times. And nothing is nothing but a distant memory from the past.
Jeez, here's my razor blade.
See, I had a feeling it was going to get dark. Meg, what was hard for you to accept?
I thought about my parents when I was thinking about this. Like, even now as adults, we do our best. So, like, for our parents, they did our best for us. Like, they're not always perfect. And I think also, like, my parents and I have a good relationship, but there's some stuff, like, they don't really understand because of the generation gap and stuff like that. And also, like, them being immigrants, and I was, like, born and raised here in the U.S., so it's, like, the cultural, like, a little bit of difference as well. So I think
I
like
faced that
it's
before.
like I think like for me it was like hard for me to accept that. Like sometimes I have to remind myself like, oh my gosh, like if I tell them like this, like they wouldn't understand how things are now.
That was pretty. I can relate to that. Okay, what was hard for you to accept?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually starting to share this on like my social media, but it's even though like, so I think I told you guys before that I'm adopted, right? And so that has been something I accepted, but it's also hard to accept. And I think realizing this as an adult, like how much I missed out because I'm adopted on like, I feel like I was culturally robbed of like culture, like a lot, especially like my Korean side. Like I didn't get to grow up, you know, my Korean culture, but, yeah, like it's been something where I am finally knowing that being adopted, I've embraced it, but it's also been hard to accept. And, but at the same time, like, what can I do? I can't change that. Right. So I would just say adoption, like that's probably like a really serious like answer, but that's kind of something I'm starting to talk about more. So it's been kind of a vulnerable space for me to really start to talk about it, but I think it's also kind of healing for me. So yeah, that's been something for me that's been hard to accept, but I've had no choice but to accept it.
Kind of reminds me of like my answer in a way.
What's yours?
I think one of the hardest I had a hard time accepting was at least in the past though. I'm over it now, but because I accepted it, was like abandonment. Had to be abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't figure out like why the ex that I was with for several years, 8 years, 10 years. She'll say 10, I'll say it's 8. But anyways, she made a lot of decisions that was selfish. And then the final decision of basically choosing to what probably would make her happy, and she only thought about herself, and she was no longer happy with what was set in stone that she decided for us, right? And I went with it and agreed. She changed her mind and didn't want it anymore. Cost me 8 to 10 years of my life, and she only thought about herself.
Dang.
So that it was hard for me to accept that I didn't do anything wrong. It was hard. It was hard for me to accept that. But I would still be either beaten or abandoned, neglected over someone that you can meet in 10 days as opposed to a person that you're with for 10 years. It was difficult for me to understand. Even though I stated that I forgave her, it was hard for me to like understand why people would make such selfish decisions and would choose to sacrifice something um, that they threw everything into, but then had a change of heart and just rather live their life YOLO and all that stuff and change their heart about this is no longer what they want. But they would make you spend 10 years of your life building to what they wanted. And it's like, oh, I don't want this anymore. I'm just going to, abandon you and choose someone else. And I couldn't, even till this day, like I still couldn't figure out why would someone do that. And then even after so many nights of like during the breakup, I asked her, why would you choose that? Because it still couldn't make sense to me. It's hard to accept that, like, I guess you can kind of say that, like, being abandoned, it's hard to accept for me, at least. So, because I put myself kind of high, right? For at least for like motivation to move myself forward in life. But when someone would make choices like that, it's hard to accept that like for me, that no matter what I do, like it's there will always be someone better than me. That was hard for me to accept. There will always be something better, smarter, richer, like and so on and so on. It was hard for me to accept. I think that was one of the hardest things for me to accept. I'm over it now, but thinking back to it was difficult. I wouldn't say it was easy. It was difficult. And I didn't have guidance or anything. I had to do it like by myself, just sitting there like unanswered questions until I asked myself all the possible questions inside of my head that I had no answers to, and I just keep fucking asking myself and realizing that like at one point it's like, okay, you know what? There will never be anyone better than myself. There will be people who will beat me in certain aspects, like someone taller, better looking, younger, richer, smarter. There will always be someone that will beat me in some sort of aspect, but there will never be anyone that will beat me at being me. So that made it a lot easier for me to like kind of accept everything that happened.
That reminds me of something else. It took me a while to figure out too. Actually, I didn't figure out until like mid-pandemic that when I figured out is my career, like where I want to go. Like, I
That's a
always
good
love
one.
like, yeah, I always love like science and stuff like that. And like, even like growing up, like I always like love to help people. So like my only way of thinking is that like to be a doctor. And like, I also like study pre-med as well, like worked in a hospital and all of that just to like file myself like in that path. But when pandemic started, I was just like having many thoughts. I was like really depressed. And I was just like thinking, I'm like, do I really want to go into medicine? Like what I'm doing right now as like a researcher, I'm also helping people. Like I'm helping people in a like not just like one doctors is like more one-on-one, but I can help like millions of people at once, like finding like cure for people like disease. So it's just like, do I want to go back to school? And it's like when you're in this path of thinking like, oh yes, I'm just gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be a doctor kind of thing. And it was just like so hard for me to let go of that as well. Yeah, it
Yeah.
took me a long time. And I was like fighting myself with it too. It's like also like a mental and emotional battle. It's just like reminds me of your story, Kay, because like it's like, am I good enough? Is it because I'm not smart? I don't have like the integrity to like move on, but like I also like wanted like a work life balance and all of that, which is like more important to me, I found out. So it's just like having to let go, like, oh, like you're not coming through, so like people will say that you're dumb and stuff like that, but it's just like, but like this is me, like I'm more than enough, like just having that acceptance as well.
Yeah, losing or sacrificing your pride is difficult too. Yeah, because yeah, it's very similar. Jay, do you remember what was my answer when they asked what was your childhood dream job? Do you remember my answer? Because that's why I was laughing when she said that.
To be a doctor?
Yeah, pediatric doctor. That's why I was like
Mm,
I can relate to what you were saying because my dream was to be a pediatric doctor and save like a bunch of babies and children's lives because I was good with
mm-hmm.
kids. Right, granted, I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
Kind of, if you count K2,
Say,
Kaylee,
like, wait a minute.
she's technically my daughter. So yeah, because I raised her since birth, and I'm still stuck with her now. But like, I love you, kid. But like, anyways, um, but to be turned down when I applied for med school, right? To be turned down because of the fact that I didn't know that my high school, basically GPA and attendance would factor so much into getting um, like a student loan and all that stuff. Because I wasn't the greatest kid. I was like just did enough to get by. When I got turned down for med school and I learned all that, that was a couple of the factors. I was like devastated. So I did a career change and just went to computer science because of the fact that like by default because I thought I was great in computers that I knew enough. And then I did a career change again at UMass Lowell after I transferred already from my community college because I couldn't afford it. Uh, Mind you, my family is immigrant and I'm a first generation. So we didn't have money like that when we came over. Um,
Mhm.
that was difficult for me to switch and then switch again because of the fact that I was at the point of realizing throughout the recession. At that time, there was a recession. There's a recession now, but realizing that like, oh, computer science is not a good field to get into, and that 300 resume, only one person is going to get the job. I swapped to business, and um, and doing all these career jumps, it's every single time it's not as easy as people think. It's not like you just
Yeah.
change it just because of your feelings. No, sometimes you change it because a really really um scarce environment happens and that it forces you to change it according to the environment, and you have to adapt according to your environment in order to survive sometimes. And then
Yeah.
it's hard to swallow that pride of like, what the fuck? Like, I'm smart enough to do it, or I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not fucking rocket. I've met people like this is the ego I had, not to offend any pediatric doctors out there, but like I had this ego of like, I met some fucking dumb pediatric doctors, and you're telling me they graduated school? How the fuck did I not even got accepted? Like, that's the type of pride
Yep.
that it took me a while to even like accept, like to accept that. It's very relatable to how like you felt. I felt that too. That's what I wanted to add. But no matter what, Meg, I hope that like you just strive, and I wish like the best for you because no matter what, money can always be made, and living your life
Yeah.
always wanting to care and cater to people. I still do that. I could see that in the eyes of
Yeah.
my daughter slash niece, my mom, and my family. They still see that like I will still take care of people. Selective few though.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty sure you would do the same. Not everyone's
No, I'm very
deserving of
happy
you.
now.
Yeah, probably like
I
Moose
think it
is
was
one of
like,
them.
honestly,
Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, I think it's like one of the best decisions I made of like not applying and going to med school and like letting that go. It's like so much weight and burden and like mental like stress for me. It like made me like depressed. So I think it's like a really it just like dropped a lot of weight, and I gained a lot more happiness, like more time for family, friends, and like I don't know, like you said, like immigrant family, we don't have a lot of money, so like now I'm able to like, I bought my own place, like as a first generation play person. And so even as like a woman, it's a great deal to like buying your own place. And so I'm like very happy about where I am and like still being in the medical field in a sense because I'm in clinical trials. But yeah, like I'm still helping people. It's just like not directly.
You can always help them one way or another, even though it's not medical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like when I die, right? Because death is inevitable. But I'm pretty sure that I've touched a lot of people's lives. That you guys would be sitting there drinking, talking shit about me and my hairline. Better take a few steps back when you do that. But like you guys will remember half of the views that I said. You don't have to follow it, but like you'll just remember the jokes and the view. And it impacted a few people's. I've helped my friends out financially. Not even by giving them money, but just telling them the mistakes I've made with money. I help them out with like things such as like relationships. That's another one. Just by telling them the mistakes I made, and there's things like that. Like you could touch people's lives like that. It doesn't have to be that you're sitting there citing Percocet, Molly Percocet, Percocet. Sorry, but like it doesn't have to be like that. Like there's a lot of ways we could touch people's lives. I wish someone touched me.
Drinking is one of them. It's pour a shot.
Yes, pour a shot.
There you go. Hey, there you go.
Oh, that was sweet. Okay, what? Anyone else?
I have a second answer. It kind of ties into your story a little bit and into what I said with time. The fact that someone can change on you on an instant.
Oh my god. Yeah, I know.
Knowing someone, change on you so instantly, and then you no longer know them. They were once someone who you once thought you knew, but now become a complete stranger, and they're just not. You look at them, but you see an old image of who you knew, who you knew, but now they're they're just a stranger. Yeah.
We knew someone like that, right?
Yeah.
Thought he was one of our best friends in the whole world, and then one day just changed overnight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's funny? This goes back to the whole question of what holiday you would remember. It was the Valentine's, and it led to the conversation of courier pigeons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a story. This is in middle school. You know how back then you could send carnations during Valentine's Day and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
So there was one time. So this friend of ours, they were just talking about, I bought a carnation to some girl saying it was from him.
You're so mean.
And then when the girl got it, she was like, "Oh, thank you." And she got up and hugged him. He's like, "Wait, what? What are you talking about? It wasn't me." And I'm just sitting in the back of the classroom, just dying of laughter.
I never got a flower.
Oh, but
It's fucked up but funny.
it was because he was literally clueless. He's just sitting in his table like this, and then the girl gets up. She's like, "Oh, thank you," and she goes up to him. She gives him a hug. He's like, "What? It
He's
wasn't
probably
me."
like, what is going on?
Yeah.
He looked up all confused. He's like, "Oh, it wasn't me," and I'm just sitting all the way in the back of the classroom, just laughing.
Wait, he said that it wasn't him, or he played it off?
No, he because I was the one who bought it. I was the one who bought it, and it just said it was from him. So he didn't know. He didn't know what was going on.
That would have been.
Oh my god.
a good answer to the other questions a few podcasts back would actually be Megan Q of what good moves to make on your high school crush.
Mm.
That would have been a good answer then. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good
Yeah.
answer. That's right.
Had you ever been guilty of projecting baggage or a past trauma onto someone new? I'm guilty as fuck.